Do not create a storm in a teacup to supersize and grow your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. And our idiom or expression today is one I've actually never heard of. It's the British version of tempest in a teapot. There's a lot of different versions in different languages of this particular idiom. I think don't make a mountain out of a molehill, but they all mean pretty much the same thing. It's when, and this one was actually first recorded by a Scottish novelist named Catherine Sinclair. In Modern Accomplishments, or in The March of Intellect in 1838. It's also been around since 52 BC, and it was used by Cicero. So it's actually been around for centuries in different languages and in different forms. But it means don't exaggerate. Don't make small problems into big things. Also, don't let small situations and overlooking small things create mountains or big problems for you. I read an interesting article about small businesses and the IRS and certain things that people do, small businesses especially, that get them into trouble over and over again. And they don't think that they're a big deal when they start their business, but they can grow and explode and be a huge problem. And if you've ever had an IRS audit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So why do we exaggerate? What are some different ways that we do this in our business and some of us in our lives? What are some similes and different ways, and how does exaggeration show up in our business? Overreacting. Anybody in your business or you ever overreact? Shows up by catastrophizing things. I think that's the right word. Making a catastrophe out of every little thing that happens. Blowing things up and out of proportion. Somebody makes a mistake and you beat the living daylights out of them, or you fire them or something by overreacting or making it a catastrophe. Magnifying things, maximizing things, overplaying, overblowing situations that just aren't that big a deal. You know what? There's enough stuff that happens in our lives and in our businesses as we're growing and building and supersizing them. The last thing we want to do is make them a bigger deal than they actually are. We also don't want to minimize them, but we don't want to maximize them for sure. So why does this happen? Cognitive, distortion. We see things from different perspectives all the time, each and every one of us. Sometimes people do this to manipulate other people, other parties that are involved in business. Have you ever been manipulated by anyone as part of your growing and building and supersizing your business? I know I totally have. And there are also, believe it or not, people out there that are pathological, and they're pathological liars or pathological, or they just like to stir up trouble. Does anyone besides me have an instigator that shows up in their life, or an instigator in their family? I got a couple of them. It seems like some people just like to create drama and cause trouble. So what do we do about this? What do we do if we catch ourselves blowing things out of proportion, overreacting, getting upset? Because it doesn't play out very well, especially as a leader in our business. Well, I want to be careful about how we describe situations, the adverbs and the adjectives and the things that we use to describe things. We want to make sure that we consider the possibility of using more realistic synonyms, more realistic words and verbiage when we're describing a situation or explaining a situation or dealing with and problem solving about something that comes up in our business. So the quickest one I can think of is, I can say I'm starving. Well, am I really starving, or am I just feeling a little hungry right now? Believe me, my doctor would never say that I am starving. And I have never starved. We want to be comfortable being honest with people and open with people and being vulnerable, right? There's this big push, thank you, Brene Brown, on vulnerability in our lives and in our workplace. I just say be yourself, be honest, be open with people. Don't put on a bunch of masks and veils and pretend that things aren't, that you are or are not something that you're not. I mean, be you, right? And then finally, we want to make sure that if we are doing any of these things or exaggerating anything, that we check ourselves and we correct ourselves. It's easy to get carried away in a situation. Think of all the fish stories we've heard throughout our lives. I don't know about you, but I'm from a family of fishermen, and fish stories are one of those things that get bigger and bigger and bigger and exaggerated. But if you exaggerate in one area of your life, you might find yourself exaggerating in other areas of your life. So it's just something to be careful and cognizant of. So curious, have you ever heard this particular idiom, storm in a teacup, or any variation or version of it? Again, new to me, but I definitely have experienced people exaggerating, people making mountains out of molehills, people making problems and things bigger than they actually are. Because really, life and business can be really simple if we choose to keep it and make it that way. You know, we find a simple framework and we apply it over and over and over again. We build on our strengths, not on our weaknesses. And we do the same thing with the other people that we interact with. Again, everything can be boiled down to something simple, or we can make it super duper complicated and miserable. I say let's keep it simple and fun and supersize our businesses together. Any questions, hit me up. Otherwise, have an awesome day, and I will, of course, be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how might you use it to grow and build your business right now?